Welcome back, everyone. So it's occurred to me there's this thing out there called Neti Pots. And alright, so essentially, if you have sinus issues, you use this Neti Pot and you take water and you pour it in one nostril and it comes out the other. And this is supposed to flush out your sinuses and everything. Before I say what I think, let me tell you a little bit about these. These apparently it has been proclaimed, they've been around for thousands of years, being used by people to clear out their sinus cavities and help them overcome allergies, congestion, infections, sinus infections. So anything dealing with the sinuses and congestion. Because people thousands of years ago totally knew what was best for us and our health, right? I mean, after all, they did die from the common cold, and well, no, just a couple thousand years ago, even 1,000 years ago, the medical technologies, the things that we knew about medicine back then, pale in comparison to what we know about our bodies and biological well-being today. Like, this is just ridiculous. Like, I hate it when people make the claim that, well, it's been used for thousands of years, therefore it must work. Well, what is your proclamation that people who lived ancient civilizations knew more about our health than we do today? How do you come to that conclusion? I would like to know. What, that it's still in use because that it's so popular because it works? Just because something's popular doesn't mean it's right. SJWs. Which I'm not so sure are very popular. But, okay. The first time I heard about this, the first thing that came to mind was, that sounds like a good way to get a sinus infection. Oh, oops. Here's an FDA report on it. The FDA reports that while using it can be fairly harmless, there is a potentiality of getting a sinus infection. You're putting basically foreign things into your sinus cavities. You're opening yourself up to possibly getting a sinus infection and making matters worse off than they actually were. Okay. I know the FDA also made an article about vaping. They put strict regulations on vaping, vape mods, e-liquids, all kinds of stuff because health reasons. But at the same time, admittedly, they said that the vaping thing has not been around long enough for them to actually know if there are any negative ramifications to vaping, nor positive ones. So at least they're honest. I disagree with the regulations they put on the vaping, but I've already made a video about that. But the FDA is right. Well, I mean, they're basically saying what I already thought before I even came across that. WebMD talks about it. There's WebMD's article talking about Neti Pots and how they can be used to flush out the nasal cavity system. They don't really talk about negative side effects. They have a section that says, does it actually work? They say, yes, it actually does work. But here's the thing. If you're going to use a Neti Pot, I would really strongly advise that you only use saline solution. If you don't, you could end up with a sinus infection pretty easily. You're going to end up with foreign matter in your sinus cavity, and that could be very detrimental to your sinuses. It doesn't belong there. And if you think back on like thousands of years ago, if they actually were doing this thousands of years ago, that would be the most logical and practical thing you could do at the time, considering the lack of medical ingenuity that we had, considering the lack of medical knowledge that we had back then, that would be a fairly logical assumption to make, is that if you take this teapot thing of water and pour it in your nostril and what comes out the other side, we know, like, we've cracked skulls open, we know that, the sinus cavities are all connected, we could have predicted that would happen, but it makes sense in the sense that you're congested, here in your nasal cavity, which actually, stems up here, and you even have some sinus cavities up here, that to get that out, you would pour water and to try and rinse it out. And that's a pretty logical conclusion to come up to, considering what they had a couple thousand years ago. It's pretty ingenious for the time, but we know better now. You can actually, you can give yourself a sinus infection by sticking a cotton swab too far in your ear canal. You can get a sinus infection from foreign things going into your ear canal, let alone an ear infection. So neti pots, they're pretty nutty. And I'm not trying to say that the people who use them are stupid. I'm just saying that this is something that I found and I wanted to debunk and say, look guys, if you're using saline solution, I don't think that it's going to do any harm. It could, I guess. It could still do harm. You could still get a foreign microbial thing in there and cause problems, like a piece of metal even. But even on the non-harm aspect, it's not going to keep bacteria from settling in your sinus cavities. I will leave the links to the FDA article and the WebMD article. And the first time I even heard about it, it was suggested to this person who was talking to me about it by a holistic doctor. Holistic. And when I think holistic, I don't think holistic like what I learned in CNA courses of treating the whole body and the emotional state of mind. I think of spirituality. And when you start stepping into that category, you're stepping into a big heaping pile of what's probably bullshit. It's mind over matter, guys. I mean, if you want to stick saline solution up your nose, go for it. But honestly, if you get a sinus infection, my best recommendation for you is some antibiotics. But anyway, debunked. Bullshit, not real science, not real medicine. It's old crap from ancient civilizations that they said, how am I going to get this crap, rinse this crap out of my nose? And that's what they came up with. And you couldn't expect anything more from them 1,000, even 2,000, or even 1,000 years ago. Hell, even if you go back to the 1800s, I mean, things were different. If a doctor tried to treat you with some of the treatments that they had back in the 1800s, you'd run and scream. But anyway, yeah, neti pots. Don't do it. I mean, you can if you want. If you've been doing it and you see this video, just laugh and shrug it off and put it away with all the other ridiculous things that they've come out with over the years. But yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it. But anyway, with that, like, share, subscribe, comment. And I guess you can't hit the bell button anymore. Don't know what's up with that. But I'm out.